Welcome once again here on Regional Radio Sports. My name is Paul Condry. As always, a privilege to be with you here today at Holy Cross College at Notre Dame, Indiana. We welcome you inside the File Center, just across the way, McKenna Arena. We welcome you, as always, to another exciting school year here, 2024, as it gets underway here. Everybody across the country, whether it be at the high school level, the college level, everybody excited about what's going on right now. And we welcome in the new athletic director at Holy Cross College here at Notre Dame, Bob Pastoor. We welcome you to episode number 1 of season 2 of Holy Cross College Athletics. And Bob, first of all, I know this is your first. You've been on the program before, been on with us before in other capacities, but now you're here in this position. Give us and Dr. Clark is with us also, and I know he'll appreciate this. One of my all-time favorite lines in the movie Hoosiers. We now welcome in the tallest hog in the trough, as they say. So Bob, in the line of Hoosiers, and jokingly saying so, your thoughts on taking over the athletics here? I know you've got to be excited, buddy.
Well, it's a great opportunity. I've had athletics report to me throughout most of my career, both at Division I level as well as NAIA level, and so this is kind of a fun thing. My wife was a coach, a basketball coach. My kids are all participated in college sports, so it's been near and dear to me for my career. I'm excited. Last year we put together the 5-year strategic plan for athletics, which we hope to make public within the next few days and get that going. I think it's important for everybody to understand where athletics is as of today and where we hope it to be. And the big part of that is to make sure that we all understand how athletics supports the institution of Holy Cross as a total educational institution. I think we are blessed with wonderful student athletes. They do well academically. They perform well, either on the court or on the field. We have some improvements to make over the next year, but I think the coaches are all ready to make that happen. So I'm looking forward to it, and we have some fundraising to do for the next year, and so we'll be reaching out to people to see how they can help athletics here. So.
Men's tennis team ranked number 11 in the NEI. Women's tennis number 17. Omar and Duma's soccer teams are off to good starts. Certainly from a fall sports perspective, I know you have to feel encouraged.
Very much so. I think the fact that we were able to split soccers between 2 head coaches now, I think will make a big difference. The athletes are responding well. They've done a great job in recruiting the right kind of students for us, and I think they're very excited about the future. They both want to improve, certainly within the CCAC, and I think they will. I think this year will be a good year for them, and so I'm looking forward to it. Tonight, this afternoon, and tonight they go down to Marion to play Marion in the Crossroads League, so that'll be a good indication as to see how well they're doing. Got
a new sports information director, Kathleen's with us here today. That's got to be exciting to have someone who shares the same vision that you do.
Well, we did a national search for this position, and we were lucky enough to get Kathleen to consider applying, and she fell right into this thing. And I think the fact that she's a graduate from Holy Cross, soccer player, just got her master's in the United Kingdom, and is able to come back and serve the college again. And I think we're very excited about it. She's very proficient when it comes to the technology, and she's already recruited an intern student to work with her, so we're excited about that too.
I love the fact that younger people, and I know Dr. Clark will probably agree with me, is the neat thing about the next generation is they're so proficient in regards to technology. I love that aspect of this next generation. I'm still kind of that old school kind of guy. But speaking of old school, this guy next to me, always a privilege to be able to visit with Dr. Marco Clark. He has done special things since his time here at Holy Cross College at Notre Dame. Dr. Clark, before we talk about some of the initiatives going on here, institutionally speaking, but college football is underway last Saturday, and it's going to continue on here through the next week. We have a new landscape of college athletics, from college scholarship scholarships distribution, which will eventually filter itself down to all the smaller schools, respectively. But also we have a new landscape in regards to postseason. As a former college football coach, and you understand the dynamics as well as anybody, anytime you give student-athletes another opportunity to showcase their skills, I'm a big fan of that, and education-based athletics at the college level still is the purest form of, I don't care if they're giving them a little bit of extra money, it's still the best thing in the world.
Yep. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I think that certainly there's a lot of complexities in today's intercollegiate athletics, especially the Power 5 conferences, sure. Right? And the money, the NIL deals, the transfer portal, but I think really the essence, and of course longer seasons now, sure. Right? I mean, with the 12-game playoff format, we could potentially right here at Notre Dame, Indiana, look to host a first-round playoff game, and how exciting is that to know that we could have football in Notre Dame Stadium in December, right? And so, woe to that traveling team that has to come here. So, but I think at the essence of all of it still is that there are families that are making decisions to send their kids to play for a coach who's going to care for them deeply, that's going to provide them with a remarkable educational experience, and is going to build something special and a sense of community and family. And I really, really admire what I see going on across the street at Notre Dame, across the board in all their athletic programs, the quality of men and women who are leading those programs, who are keeping what I always like to say the main thing. It's really about the students, the student athlete, their formation, their growth, being a part of something special.
It's got to be exciting. Here, a few days ago, you welcomed in the class of 2028. For both you guys, Bob, let me start with you. Talk about the excitement of welcoming in a new group of freshmen onto the campus here and welcoming in here to the File Center, McKenna Arena, giving them the chance to kind of get indoctrinated. And Dr. Clark, same thing with you. What's your feeling when you see those kids coming in here for the first time, knowing that this is the first class? We'll start with you, Bob.
Well, welcome weekends and orientations at colleges is always the best time. I would rank that right up there with graduation weekend. Those are the two most important weekends for us. We're welcoming a record class again, and which is always exciting to us. And I think that there's always I love watching these students come in because they're eager. They want to get going. This has been a goal for them for 18 years, right? To go to college, and to be able to provide that opportunity for them is great for us. So it's always a good weekend for this.
What's your thoughts, Dr. Clark?
Yeah,
welcome in the 28 class.
I love the energy and grateful for the trust as well. This is a true partnership with families who are committing. This is their child. They're saying, "Yeah, we trust you with our child." And some of them, this freshman class, as Bob alluded to, it is a record enrollment for us. They come from 34 states in the United States and 8 countries. I think we even underestimated the 8 countries because I've since learned about others. Had the joy of meeting a family from Ireland earlier this week whose son is on our tennis team, and a remarkable job that Eric does with that tennis program. So yeah, it's really very exciting. There's so much hope. Nobody begins a year thinking, I hope I have a mediocre or a failing year, right? They all they come in with great hope and optimism, and they look to be successful.
All right, so it's been some exciting things. I know that you've brought in some new staffing and really kind of changed the is it safe to say the infrastructure and the goals? Walk us through some of the things you're trying to get underway.
Yeah, so I think we'll talk maybe first about the college infrastructure, the human infrastructure, right? So as we've grown, we've now grown, Paul, so 17.8% from last year to this year, almost 20% the year before, so nearly 40% increase in the last 2 years. And this is not just growth for the sake of growth. I mean, we've got quality kids that are here and families that are learning more about what we can offer at Holy Cross College. But we also have to scale it and size it appropriately to make sure that, again, kind of a repeated phrase that people will hear from me all the time is to keep the main thing, right? So how do we maintain that ratio of students to teachers, the advisory ratios, to keep those low so we can continue to maintain a true mentoring culture? But then as well, if we're going to do some things and programmatically to make sure that we're scaled and sized appropriately for that. We've got a new vice president for enrollment management and student engagement. The theory there, Paul, is that from the moment they're recruited until the time that they become alumni, there's a person, a leader, who's involved in that entire formative process, right? Is helping to connect those dots, ultimately towards their success. There's a new dean of students who's there on the day-to-day level. Bob Pastoor, we're fortunate enough with somebody who's got over 40 years of higher ed experience, all in student life, to be able to serve in this role as Associate Vice President for Student Life and as Director of Athletics. As we take this program to the next level, the hiring of an SID, a full-time SID, the splitting of the coaching staff so they're no longer coaching both the men and women. It's really all about building a model for success. And anybody who's ever built a business, right, you've got to have the infrastructure in place, the foundation in place, in order for it to be successful.
I had a chance to meet Allan and Andrea earlier today, two wonderful souls that just immediately, we just immediately clicked. I think that if that's the kind of people that you're bringing in to the group, I think you're going to have a tremendous amount of success.
Yeah, thank you. And then I would say the other piece of this is that, when you talk about revenue for a college like ours, right, the primary revenue drivers are of course students who choose us, right, and
sure.
So tuition, room, board, fees, et cetera, but also the fundraising, right. We've built an entirely new infrastructure in our advancement office, and we're seeing tremendous success from that. I think people probably read about the Lilly grant that we got
sure.
in partnership with Notre Dame. So there's just some great things happening.
Can you expand on the Lilly grant? I know that's an exciting time. I know that the people at Notre Dame are excited about it. Can you break it down a little bit more in layman's terms?
Yeah, what a remarkable vision. First off, we're just super honored to be partnered with Notre Dame on this and to have been invited by Notre Dame to be a part of this vision. In my first couple of years here, Paul, I spent a lot of time in the community meeting corporate leaders, nonprofit leaders, civic leaders, and began to see some needs in the town, right? Now, we're talking about less than 2 miles and a 6-minute distance between where we are on 933 and the heart of downtown where the South Bend Tribune building is. And yet the distance sometimes, that's a border that is
sure.
rarely crossed.
Exactly.
And so Notre Dame, who's had a long time history of investing in this city and in this town, through their acquisition of the old South Bend Tribune building, said, hey, we're going to bring tech and talent and help to build the infrastructure for entrepreneurship and others, working with the local ecosystem and the other higher eds that are doing some good work here too, to really help the citizens here in the city of South Bend. Our role in that is an instructional side, right? We're going to be doing a lot of micro-credential kind of work. So in other words, somebody who, as an adult learner, as a non-traditional learner, might look to upskill in particular areas, right? They want to grow in their profession. They want to grow in leadership and management. Maybe they've been approached by their boss and say, hey, if we can get you the right training, there's an opportunity for you to grow. There's a big need, an equal need in the nonprofit community, right?
Sure.
And then there's a need as well with the changing graduation requirements in the state of Indiana for high school students to be able to get these kinds of credentials that lend themselves to college credit for dual enrollment that can be stackable towards degrees. So that'll be our role. We're going to kick off this fall with a national search for an executive director and do the R&D, the research and development, the program development over the course of the year, and we hope to at least have something next fall in place to be able to launch at least a few of these programs.
Walk me through the whole process of securing the grant in itself. I know that there are a lot of institutions across the board, across the country, trying to secure those Lilly grants. Kind of give us an idea how you and Notre Dame teamed up. It's a great collaborative partnership. Can you walk me through it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say that first and foremost, we are so fortunate to be here in the state of Indiana, to have a company like Lilly that is so philanthropically minded, and we all benefit from that, right? The entire state benefits from that, and you can see that fingerprint in every small town or rural area in this state, and even across the country, but especially concentrated in this state. Secondly, we I think are in a state that's really committed to education and to continuing education and for post-secondary education, and thinking very creatively and frankly even on the cutting edge of what the educational future will look like. And so we're fortunate to be in that place. And then, based on what we outlined in our strategic plan and all the research I did in my first year, especially what we've seen is that there is a need for colleges and communities to collaborate more for the greater good. right? So there's resources that colleges have, there's resources that the cities have, and so when Lily announced this college and community collaboration grant, it just was a gift in our laps, because we were looking for ways to be a college for the community. Originally founded as a community college, as a junior college, now a 4-year college, but we wanted to go back to how can we be more of a college for the community. So working with the great folks over at Notre Dame, our team collaborated. We had some ideation meetings with the two provosts, with the variety of vice presidents, and then the real work began, and doing the community information sessions to learn more and to do the exploratory, a lot of research, looking at places like Raleigh-Durham. They've got some very similar kinds of structures in place. So through that research, that helped to inform the grant process. And then you apply, and then you wait, right? You wait to see what would happen. And so that day when we learned about this grant, for us, frankly, at Holy Cross College, this is the largest grant in the history of the college, right? So it is a moment to celebrate. And for Notre Dame to have such a now visible presence, active presence in downtown, and so it's really very significant.
Obviously, this is going to be a greater opportunity for growth across the board, and you kind of touched base on it earlier, that you've got to be able to maintain your infrastructure along with wanting to grow. There's a fine line there. I mean, it's the same situation. We go back to your days of football. Mm-hmm. I mean, offense, defense don't do their job well, but if the special teams lays an egg, so you've got to be able to make sure that you're on the same page. I always like to break things down in football, things during football season. But let's talk about making sure that you've got all your ducks in a row. I know there's physical infrastructure improvements that's going to be going on here right at our geographical location. So we talk about making sure that you don't grow too fast, because growth too fast could really hurt you. Yeah,
it really can hurt you. And we're pushing the envelope a little bit right now. I think our growth of the last 2 years has been great, significant, historic, but we're pushing the envelope a little bit, right? So we do have plans for infrastructure growth. I mentioned the human infrastructure, but the physical infrastructure. We hope to announce in the next 60 days a new residence hall or two that we'll be building on campus. That's a 2-year process, so it would open in the fall in August of 2026. We also are looking at designing and constructing a student union, so that the student spaces, the common spaces, the dining spaces, the study spaces, the recreation spaces on campus can be enhanced. And then add to that, right here where we sit in the File Center, right? We have some expansion plan for the File Center. Through the good fortune of a generous donor, we've got some new fitness equipment coming into our beautiful fitness center. We're looking to do a transformation of our athletic field with a real emphasis on not only the intercollegiate athletics that we offer in the NAIA, but also intramurals and recreation and fitness and really life wellness. Things like a fitness court, an outdoor fitness court, and life walking trails and biking trails, and all those sorts of things to contribute to the college campus, and ultimately helping to form lifestyles of healthy habits.
Do you think, Bob, at some point in time with the Lilly grant, pushing things, kicking the can down the road, can I use that term? I mean, this is going to bring more students, more opportunities. Will there be more growth? Will there be more education-based athletics somewhere on the horizon?
Well, as part of the 5-year strategic plan for athletics, we did look at the potential of growth in athletics. Dr. Clark was just talking about the athletic complex, the soccer field, going to turf, going to lights at night, which in itself gives us an opportunity to grow in intramurals, recreation, but it also looks at potentially moving into bringing men's and women's lacrosse to the college.
That's
right?
Awesome.
Because the field hopefully will be lined that way, so we can have that. We're also talking about some other opportunities. Bowling is one of the sports that we're going to take a close look at. Esports is another opportunity. So there are things that, but it has to happen in increments. It can't happen all at once. And because we've got some limitations with the File Center as to what we can handle for more athletes. And, lacrosse is going to bring us about 50 more students. So where are they going to go? What are the locker rooms that we're going to have to use? Training facilities, all of those kinds of things. So I think the growth of the school athletics will mirror the growth of the school because it has to be incremental and it has to be at a regular pace, not too crazy. So, yeah, I think there are going to be wonderful opportunities. And we talked about even doing cross country as an opportunity. So we're going to have to study all of this because we just kind of threw these ideas out in discussions as we did a SWOT analysis. But now, as we start looking at the opportunities, we got to plan it. It's got to be a business plan to make it move forward.
The sports journalist in me always wants to know, hey, we've seen all kinds of realignment at the national level with conferences and stuff. Yeah. Is Holy Cross College, are you solidified in are you happy in the Chicagoland Collegiate Athletic Conference, or is it independent on the horizon, or the Crossroads League, the Wolverine Hoosier Athletic Conference? A lot of great things out there.
Yeah, I think overall the CCAC is a good conference for us, although it's had its own turbulent times with schools leaving the conference or closing or whatever it may be. So we're very conscious of that. There are plenty of other opportunities for us to take a look at. However, we are probably the smallest athletic program in the conference. And I know, having worked at a Division III school, it was not unusual for most Division III schools to have 23 sports. We can't do that. We don't have the facilities to do that. We don't have the money to do that, all of those kind of things. So we are somewhat limited. And even the Crossroads League, most of those schools have 17, 18 sports. So I think we're okay. My only concern is as the conference continues to realign further west.
Sure.
With Viterbo joining us this year, that's a 6-hour bus ride for our players, and so there are some things to consider, and it's cost. It's also extra money.
No question about it. Yeah. Dr. Clark, give me a thought on the basic mindset as you sit down and you go with Bob and say, hey, listen, this is my vision for Holy Cross College athletics. I mean, you come from a coaching background, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for the time that you spent as a coach, and you work your way up the ladder, as they say. But you also have an idea on what is special for students.
Yeah.
How coaches can literally change the hearts, minds, and directions of their kids. I'm one of those kids. So can you talk to me about making sure that Bob and his group is doing the main thing for the main thing, right?
Yeah. So thank you. And I'm one of those kids too, as you well know. And the bar has been set very high for me because of the kinds of coaches that I experienced in my undergraduate at College of the Holy Cross, where I played college football there. Had the privilege of being part of a national championship program, as you know, in 1987. Between my sophomore and senior years, we lost a total of 3 games, and played on the very first ever ESPN Thursday night football game when 10-0 Holy Cross faced 10-0 Villanova, and we were ranked number 1 and 2 in the country, and we came out on top, and the feeling in that locker room, as the coaches said, remember this feeling, you'll have this forever, and I remember that feeling, and we hold on to that forever. But what I carry with me every single day is the influence of the mentors that those coaches were for me. And then when I began as a young coach, those mentors, people of real influence, who, when going into a season, we would say, we were often asked the question, hey, how do you think your team's going to do this year? And the answer right away, in the culture of where I had the privilege of coaching at DeMatha Catholic High School, was that, well, we don't know. Ask us 25 years from now when you see the kind of young people that we produce when they go out into the real world as husbands and fathers and workers and civic leaders and in government, et cetera, and business, et cetera. So, that's really what it's all about. And I think we get it here. We get that here. These coaches go into the living rooms and dining rooms of people all over the world, and they make a promise to a family that says that we're going to be a part of their formation. We're going to make sure that they receive an education. They sit in 46556 right here, in my opinion, the greatest higher ed zip code on the planet, and they get a chance to participate in things that nobody else in the world gets. Not just Notre Dame football and marching band and ice hockey, but some of the greatest lectures and scholars that are anywhere on the planet. They should take full advantage of that, the networking opportunities opportunities at Mendoza College of Business, for example, to be able to learn more about nursing and medicine through places like St. Mary's College. It's a remarkable place. So my challenge to the coaches is to keep the main thing, to remember that what we're here to do more than anything else is to be leaders and role models and mentors, to challenge students to be the very best version of themselves, to graduate on time with as little college debt as possible, and then to go into their first career or grad school within just a few months of graduation. Those are the goals that we have for their future.
Well, I know I can only speak from my own organization here as a whole. 35 years. I'm at 67 years old, and I am still doing the main thing for the main thing. And if it wasn't for the investment by my coaches growing up, I still wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here. And I literally believe that is the single most important thing that we can do is keep the main thing. And I really believe that in the case where you guys are at, this is just Paul's personal opinion. Christ at the helm here of what you're doing. And, allowing your student athletes to see how much you love them. I think those are things, and that time that you invest in them. And I know the coaches here. I know Tom Robbins and Omar Gallo, and I go up and down the line, all the guys that are here, Tyler. They're just amazing people, and I know that they're going to do those things. And I just appreciate you of setting the tone of putting the main thing to be the main thing.
Thank you, Paul. I got to tell you, last night, thank you to Dr. Pastoor. We had a great guest speaker, Agnes Baronato.
Sure.
Aggie, legendary women's basketball coach, winningest coach in the history of Georgia Tech, winningest coach in the history of University of Pittsburgh, and then some other places. And she gave just an amazing talk to these young men and women. And I stood in the room, and we've all been there before, where you just stand in a place and you know that something special is happening. And they listened to every word she said. They stood in line afterwards to ask her specific questions, to thank her, to let her know how inspirational that was. And I just feel it, right? You mentioned those coaches. These coaches invest so much. Their spouses and families invest so much. And they're the right people, right? I'm so excited to see what men's basketball will do in the next chapter under Tyler's leadership. That guy won this job. There was a lot of competition out there for this, and he won this job. And it's because he keeps the main thing, and he does it with such good positive energy. It's really quite beautiful. Abby Clark, our women's golf coach. Listen, I want my daughters to go back to school and become golfers, to play with her. She is not only a great golfer, but she's just an incredible mentor. And Matt Marvin, our men's golf coach, who's going into his second year too. I mean, these are just people that are just exactly what you would want to put your 18, 19, 20, 22-year-old under the leadership of.
Dr. Bob, great to be with you today. We'll look forward to doing this throughout the course of the school year.
Look forward to it.
Dr. Clark, as always,
thank you.
One of my all-time favorites right here, Dr. Marco Clark here at Holy Cross College. Special thanks to everybody here involved, including the legendary Tanner Camp. Thanks to Kathleen. Likewise, earlier today, I had a chance to meet with Allan and Andrea, some great staff members here for Dr. Clark's staff. Once again, that's going to do it for our production here of the Bob Pastoor Show. Thanks for joining us here at Holy Cross College at Notre Dame, Indiana. For all of us, for Tanner Camp, I'm Paul Condry. God bless you all. Good afternoon.
Thank you.